guys, it's Nerdy here, and man, it's been a hot minute since I've done a speed paint video, but I wanted to make something chill before diving into my next big analysis project. So I thought, why not multitask and introduce myself to my newer viewers while continuing a tradition I've been holding up for 7 years now. Yeah, I've been doing yearly Meet the Artist illustrations since 2017, and I find them to be a really fun way to keep track of my style and interests, both artistically and personally. But like, just talking about the process of the art itself is probably going to be super boring, so I'm going to answer a few get to know me questions from my community tab while telling fun little stories about myself. I hope that sounds a little less boring, or is not boring at all. Anyways, let's get into it, shall we? 1. Fandoms and interests. How did you find Omori? RPG Maker horror was something I dabbled in briefly when I was first getting into anime back in the early to mid 2010s. And then in 2020, like everyone else, I was in the midst of an anime nostalgia kick due to being locked inside for so long. Around then, a friend told me about a YouTuber named Madly Badass Hero and his playthrough of the RPG Maker horror game Cat in the Box, which is super underrated and I totally recommend it. I binged his content and then fast forward to December when he was doing Omori playthroughs. I fell in love, but I didn't super get into it until 2 years later when Jaden Animation streamed it in her subathon, and then I reached hyperfixation status. Oops! What fandoms, besides what you've shown on your channel, have you been in? To be honest, if it's something I haven't shown on my channel, then it doesn't matter as much as the others. Actually, all my sketchbook tours do a good job at chronicling my dives into different fandoms, so if you want to see what makes me go crazy cuckoo gaga bananas, then those are a good place to go. What's your favorite piece of media and favorite fandom? Honestly, how dare you make me pick? God. Man, I mean, I guess if you're forcing me at gunpoint here, I think the answers as far as how much they've impacted me as a person, and judging by what is now permanently on my skin, my fave piece of media would be Review Starlight, and my favorite fandom would be Tenkai Nights. Review Starlight's endless creativity and its ability to fully and unabashedly be a weird theater kid fever dream inspires me to no end. I hope one day I can make a video talking about what a wonderful piece of art the show and especially the movie are. And then as far as the Tenkai Nights fandom goes, it's super important to me, and also the reason why my alias is Nerdy rather than Arty. It's a weird and confusing story, but to sum it up, I used to be called Nerdy Arty, as in Arty, the alias, is Nerdy. Arty was also the name of my pony Sona way back in the day, and she was basically the mascot of my YouTube channel at the time. Only the realest ones remember her because most of the evidence has been either privated or unlisted from my channel, because that was an embarrassing as hell time. I still thought the name was cute, so I decided I would start calling myself Arty online. But the most active place in the Tenkai Nights fandom during 2016 to 2017 was the Google Plus forum. Google does that first name, last name stuff, so a lot of people in the Tenkai community started calling me Nerdy as if it were my first name. The thing is, one of those fandom members, who is also one of my oldest online friends, happens to be an amazing artist who got popular in the Danganronpa fandom around the same time he introduced me to that franchise. He kept calling me Nerdy to everyone in the Discord Danganronpa servers we were both in, and it stuck. I hold that alias really close to my heart now as a memory of a smaller fandom that always felt super homey and like a group of friends chatting about a thing they all enjoy. What is a character that you relate to lots despite how much you don't want to? Any female character that is regarded as annoying, stubborn, or mean. I cannot help my tendency to be a sassy hater sometimes. 2. Art. What apps do you use to make your artwork? I use Clip Studio for art and animation, and Wondershare for editing. I meant Wondershare Filmora. What's your favorite drawing that you've worked on so far? Honestly, anything I've made into a print tends to enter the faves category, so just look on my store page to see the illustrations I'm most proud of. Pretty solid store plug if you ask me. How do you work on larger scale projects like animatics without getting bored of it midway? I'm a completionist by nature, so it's actually not too difficult for me to work on something without completely abandoning it. It's honestly harder for me to abandon a project because it will literally infect my brain until I have a presentable enough chunk of it completed at the very least. Sometimes rewatching what I have so far or imagining how cool it will look when it's finished, along with how satisfied I feel when uploading other projects, helps me get things done faster. And on the topic of speed, if I'm really brain rotting, I can get an animatic done in 2 weeks or even 5 days. But if I actually space out my working hours in a healthy way, animatics take about 1 to 1.5 months for me to get done, depending on the fancy factor. Do you plan to become a professional animator in the future? Oh god, no. Animation is just a hobby for me. I'm fine with just doing my silly semi-animated things for now. Are you ever going to make a comic or game? And if so, could you tell us about it? Game? Nah. Comic? Very much yes. I really enjoy reading manga, and the idea of making my own has always appealed to me, as it strikes a good balance between making my own cartoon or game. I've had an idea to make a Yuri series about my friend and I's characters, and I have a draft for the first chapter done, but it's still not entirely there for me yet. Storytelling is something I struggle with, so I think I need to experiment with shorter scale one-shot comics before getting into a full-on multi-chapter Yuri about ocean cults. What got you into art? Spite and jealousy. I wish I was lying, but if you need to know anything about me, it's that I am a petty bitch. I mentioned this briefly in the Kel video, but my sister was better than me at pretty much everything since they were so much older than me when we were kids. Like, you know, the maturity gap between an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old is greater than that of a 22-year-old and a 26-year-old. You get me. Anyways, the idea of them being better than me at drawing despite not giving a shit about it made me so angry. I have a very specific memory of seeing these grapes my sister drew and thinking, fuck, those grapes look so much better than anything I could draw. I will not allow this. From that point on, I threw myself so hard into art that I am now leagues better than them. They still don't give a shit though, by the way. Any tips for a new digital artist? Watch hella tutorials for your program of choice. At first, the learning curve between digital and traditional art is pretty daunting, but you get used to it within time, so don't worry if your first year is full of experimental and muddy garbage. I speak from experience. Do you have any art styles than just your main one? Yes and no. I feel like I use many different techniques depending on the piece, but it's still very distinctly my own work. I try not to fixate on restricting myself to specific methods in order to stick to my style. That's a common thing I see young artists, including myself back in grade school, do. Young artists tend to get caught up in wanting to create an identity through their art that they fixate more on what makes their work unique rather than learning fundamentals or letting themselves have fun and experiment. I made this video when I was 16 where I talked about how I found my art style that's unlisted now because even though I made good points here and there, I wasn't really looking at the big picture when it came to my art. I was hindering my learning process greatly. Of course, with time, you move on from this mentality, but I'm pretty sure that every artist has gone through this specific phase. I literally cannot stop it. It is a canon event. 3. Personal. If you could tell yourself from a few years ago, like 2018, 2019, something, what would it be? You're allowed to stand up for your creative vision, even if people think it's childish or unprofessional. I was one of those kids who had a high school art teacher who shamed them for daring to draw things that were too anime. I listened to her because she was controlling my grades and helping me apply to art schools, but I wish I stood up for myself more. Oh well, my art and personal style is way more obnoxiously anime now, so suck it, Mrs. What's your favorite color? All of them, but I think pink suits me the best. What YouTubers do you normally watch in your free time? Oh god, it's like a shit ton of video essayists, doll customizers, art bitches, gamers, and silly commentary guys. What drove you to become a YouTuber? 11-year-old me thought YouTubers were the coolest and wanted to be just like their faves. Honestly, it's not much deeper than a desire to share my thoughts in hopes that others will hear and relate to them. Where do you find your style and fashion inspiration? Pinterest, baby! Nothing better than making and organizing a ton of boards full of fashion and art/aesthetic references. It helps boost your visual library as well. Nothing will replace going out and experiencing stuff IRL to get inspired, but Pinterest is good for those days where you don't feel like going outside at all. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given? I wouldn't say anyone has given me this advice, but watching people genuinely and fully embrace the parts of themselves that make them cringe has helped my self-confidence a lot. Trying to suppress aspects of yourself that genuinely make you happy hinder you as a person. Even if normal people, quote-unquote normal people won't see you as worth taking seriously, the people who really matter will understand that you being apologetically yourself is a show of courage rather than a display of cringe behaviors. 4. Conclusion, I guess? I don't know, I just did the list thing that I normally do for my video essays, so I guess we're just gonna end this with conclusion. But that's basically it as far as questions go. Thanks so much to everyone who left something on that one community tab post for me to answer. Without you, this video would have probably been hella boring. Again, I really appreciate the support on my work as of late, and hopefully I'll be able to keep up this string of analysis and art videos to hopefully entertain you guys. If you ever want to support my work, all relevant social media links, commission links, my Ko-fi donation link, they're all below. I'm honestly working with tech that is on its last legs to make videos and other content, so any sort of support would be helpful. Honestly, engaging with my videos in general helps a ton because haha algorithm or something, so let me know your silly little thoughts about the video in the comments below. I try to read and interact with every single one. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing morning, evening, afternoon, night. Wherever you are, I'll see you in the next video, whatever the hell that may be. Bye!